Yeah.
Srixon Q-Star Ulti-Speed was one we wanted to get in the test, right?
Super curious on that one.
I mentioned the Pinnacle, TaylorMade Speed Soft, and I talked about this last week, I think. How we got here is like, hey, what are the best-selling balls in this category? Let's test those. So,
sure.
That's kind of what we went through, and I think we tested 7 or 8 of them, so they would be, by and large, the best-selling 8 that construction on the market.
Whatever. What is up, everybody? How you living? NoPuttsGiven. We're back. Tony, are you celebrating your ball legacy today?
That's right. Yes. We test balls.
We do. We do, which was all sorts of fun, and we'll talk about that a little bit. We'll talk about Mr. Scheffler, and maybe a little bit of a different look in terms of what is in his golfing bag, but there's that. What else is going on? We had millions and millions of equipment releases the last week or two. Any sense on how that stuff's resonating out in the world? Are people excited? I got people angry saying Mizuno irons don't look that good. I'm like, are you blind?
Lies. I mean, come on, what the
blind?
Fuck is wrong?
I got people saying people seem excited for the Callaway, the X Forge. I know that's pre-order right now, but a very Japanese looking iron. People are excited about that.
Did you get any feedback on the X Forged Max?
I didn't. We'll see. I think the feedback will be evident in the sell-through data. Not saying that people aren't going to buy them, but I'll just be interested to see how that works.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's a little bit of a weird one, as is that.
It is. It is.
It's people who do not see the beauty in the Mizuno irons have lost the plot. That's insane.
I don't know what to do with you.
And maybe it's because all they've seen is pictures and things like that. But I think you go look at those in person, when those are in your hands, when those are next to you or in your bed late at night.
when Tony is canoodling with said clubs.
It's going to make me a better ball striker.
Connor shared this with me. Limited edition Diet Cherry Coke. This is like...
I would have just assumed that already existed.
No, man. I know. This is...
Well, enjoy your cancer.
Thank you. Much appreciated.
Aspartame.
So, I love it. The whole world knows that Scotty Scheffler won. And the whole world knows that Scotty Scheffler is good at golf. And the whole world knows that...
Doesn't he win? How many times have we talked about what's in Scotty's bag? Because he wins everything.
I know. And so I wanted to take a little bit different look at it this time and point out, kind of look at it by strokes gained. Okay. If we look at the entire tournament as a whole, I'm going to give you a strokes gained category or a number, and you're going to see if you can guess which category it is.
Okay. For
the whole tournament. So this is for all 4 rounds. It's going to be
hard because I don't really watch golf, but let's...
I know. This is why I like this game. Okay. Here are your categories. Strokes gained putting. We have strokes gained around the greens. Strokes gained approach. Strokes gained off the tee. And then kind of a composite one. Strokes gained tee to green. Which one would think?
Strokes gained golfing.
Yes. Everything but putting. Strokes gained not putting. Which I guess would kind of make sense. But for the tournament, this category was plus 0.07. So just slightly, marginally better than the field average. Again, this is relative to the rest of the field. So 0.07 strokes gained in what category?
I'm going to go with approach.
Not a bad guess. A terrible guess. Okay. That one is off the tee. He only gained... so he's basically field average off the tee. So, interesting. As we know, he's still playing the QI-10 driver, which again, I don't know whether that says more about how good QI10 is, or that QI35 just isn't enough of an incremental change to justify the switch for better players or any players or what. But I think it says more about QI10 than it does about QI35.
I said it's weird. We've talked about it a lot, but this year has kind of been more the year of the QI10 than previous QI than last year was, arguably. So it's, I don't know.
Yeah.
Suboptimal for TaylorMade, but again, lots of reasons why players choose the clubs they do, and who knows.
Plus 2.13. Which category? Scotti
Going
Scheffler.
with putting.
Bingo. All right. Nicely done. The eyeball test would indicate that as well. I know, particularly on Thursday and Friday. Or sorry, on Saturday and Sunday, the 2 days I didn't mention. Getting up and down these 10, 12, 15 footers for par at times, and it seemed when he was missing, he wasn't missing by much. And of course, he is in a mallet style putter now, the Spider Tour X, right? When did he switch, Tony? This feels.
I don't know exactly when. Somebody probably could look that up and track it down, and we could reach out to TaylorMade. But it is kind of fascinating. So, I went back and looked at it. So I remember us talking about a time during which Scotti was not a great putter, and actually saying, like, if Scotti learns to putt, the whole tour is going to be in trouble on a weekly basis. And so looking back in the 2022-2023 season, I gotta scroll more. Like, there, you gotta go deep. He's like if you're just on the PGAtour.com website and you search for Scott, you got to get to entry number 4. That's how far down the list of people with Scott in their names are. He was 162nd in the world putting for 2022 to 2023. For the 2024 season, significantly better. So I would assume, somewhere in there is when the switch took place.
Yeah, what I'm seeing is like Arnold Palmer invite March of 24. So we have, let's say, a year
so
and a
early
couple
24.
months.
So
yep.
So last year he jumped to number 77 in the world putting, and then this year all the way up to number 21. So we've seen it's not even steady improvement. It's just
that's massive.
Scotty learned how to putt, and then I would say then the next piece of it was he just got really comfortable with it. So I think he's steadily in that, or he's found his way into that. Hey, don't do anything. You probably don't need zero torque. You're good, buddy.
Yeah, and we can all blame Rory, as we know, in that press conference where he kind of suggested, hey, geez, if you just switch to a mallet putter, maybe that would change things up. And, almost since then, this tear that he's been on over the last 2 years, kind of the common sentiment at that time was like, man, if he can just be average with the putter, he's such a good ball striker, so good tee to green. If he can just be average, if he can just be not losing strokes to the field, he's going to be really tough to beat. If he starts gaining strokes against the field putting, who's going to beat him?
It's so I'm again on the PGA Tour stats portion of the website, and click on a player, they'll give you a radar chart showing where he ranks for all of, I guess these are the 5 key strokes gained disciplines. So approach, off the tee, total, putting, and then around the green, which is sort of like, those rare occasions when you didn't actually get to the green.
Yeah.
And he almost touches the edges everywhere. So, first off the tee, first an approach. This is for the year. He's absolutely abysmal around the green where he's 24th.
God, that's embarrassing.
Putting is 21st, and then total, obviously, first. So it's I mean, it's
Yeah.
pretty insane to be where he is. It's not doing it.
Mm-hmm.
He's not overpowering the course off the tee or throwing darts or whatever it is. He's just absolutely just lighting it up in all five corners, so to speak. So unreal.
Does this tell you, I mean, his transition from a blade to a mallet putter, do you think that's indicative of anything we're seeing industry-wide? Like better players? It used to be that back in the day, and again, I'm not saying he's an elite putter, although 20th on the PGA Tour, maybe we should say he's an elite putter.
Getting there. He's definitely getting there.
You went a generation ago or so, and your best players, your best putters, weren't necessarily using a mallet.
No.
I feel like that changed. I mean, maybe it was Jason Day, kind of his era in there where he got to number one in the world and had obviously the red putter that everybody saw, but it was kind of like, oh my gosh.
I think it's probably the biggest change that you can point to on tour is the shift from blades to mallets. I'd be curious to kind of go, like, you look at the top 10 strokes game putters. Like, these aren't, a lot of these guys aren't household names. Taylor Montgomery, Harry Hall, Sam Ryder. And the list goes on. So it's, I mean, these are not, what you would consider
it's not
the
Jordan
best
Spieth
putters.
anymore.
Yeah, well, and if the best putters, broadly speaking, aren't among what you would consider the best players in the world. It's almost probably like my game. Rory, I guess, is the notable exception, number 4. But it's like, hey, find something you can do on a golf course, and that's
play your strengths.
I'm just saying, look, no disrespect to anybody, but I'm guessing there are very few stats in the modern game, today's game, where Zach Johnson's going to crack the top 20.
Yeah.
But our guy can putt. So, it's that kind of thing. But, yeah, I think you do wonder if some of these guys that are, otherwise, generally regarded, whether it's just the eyeball test or some metric like the World Golf Rankings, guys who are generally regarded as among the best players or at least best ball strikers, right? That tee to green metric you talk about. Man, what if they could learn to putt a little better? and maybe is the key a mallet? I don't know.
Yeah.
Is it that simple?
I don't know. I mean, it's an interesting question. You'd have to talk to Scheffler to get the inside scoop on, how much of has that changed mentally for him in terms of making putts, missing putts, his confidence on and around the greens, and that, like, what has really keyed, kind of keyed a lot of that improvement. But, no shock.
I'm looking at this list. Xander Schauffele right now, 137th in the world. And so, like, what if he could improve his putting? He's ahead of where Scotti was 2 years ago, but not by much. And he's another guy. You look at this singular stat and say, my God, if he could improve his putting.
Yeah. Plus 2.54. We've already eliminated.
It's got to be it's got to be approach, right?
Yep, that's approach. One of the best
process of
players.
elimination. Okay.
Yep, but also, gets to the point that he doesn't fire at a lot of flags. You'll see him just hit the correct shot over. I mean, it is so nauseatingly disciplined to hit a 6-iron 35 feet right of a pin when players that are a tenth of his skill level will be, oh yeah, I'm just going to try to hit this draw in there. And it's like, as we know, he still plays the P7TW irons. Taylor, by the way, when are you going to let the guy come out with his own iron? Enough of this, I mean, even if you just don't change
Scotty everything at this point.
Right? Like, I feel like maybe they could lean into that a little bit more if they want to maybe, and again.
How many majors did Tiger win this year?
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
And I
I'm gonna
get
get roasted fairly anyway.
I get that people would be like, well, it's just a money grab, and they're the exact same. If they came out with a Scheffler Proto or an SS Proto or a P7 SS, or they're like, well, it's just the exact same thing. It's like, yeah, but I also kind of
they put
feel like
different
he
letters
deserves
on it, though.
Well, there's different letters.
How does stamping impact weight distribution?
I don't know. Make them. I don't know. Do something, but you don't want to change anything. I get it, but yeah. So that's it. Only place he lost strokes over this particular tournament, 0.4 of a stroke, almost 0.42 around the greens. Could be a factor of.
I mean, statistically, right? That is the weak point in his game right now. And it's not particularly weak.
It's all obviously relative. He won the Open Championship going away. Basically, made Sunday a snooze fest in terms of the competitive nature of the tournament. I mean, the first flight was very competitive. With English and Goddard and Fitzpatrick trying to hold on. Haotong Lacy, he played really well alongside Scheffler. I mean, if Scheffler hadn't played, this leaderboard would have been very, very intense on a Sunday. But you have that, and then he is a Pro V1X golf ball user, which I don't know. That tells me something, but I don't know. Does it tell you anything?
We talked about this before. It's again, and even I've had this conversation with TaylorMade. Although I'm showing Pro V1, I'm not sure if it could be X.
Oh, maybe it's Pro V1. Maybe I was
insignificant detail at this point. It's a Titleist golf ball, but I mean, again, if you're TaylorMade, no matter what you believe about your golf ball, however you think the performance compares, if you're Scotti, what is that going to do for you? Like, again, is it like at this point? I guess the question you're asking is this golf ball going to do everything that my current ball does for me and also make me a little bit better around the green? And if the answer is like, well, probably not.
Yeah.
Why are you going to mess with that? So that's a tough one. And we've talked about looking into his bag before. He is not a, I've got to have the new shit kind of guy. Yeah, no. QI10s, the Zubs, the Strixon ZU85. I mean, looking at these wedges, is this a typo, right? Like Vokey SM8. It's
yeah. He's a low bounce K grind guy in the 60, right? I mean, you got that. You have the this is one thing.
You're like the Golf Pride Tour Velvet Grip, which
I know
is just like, hey, how do I make this as boring as possible for everybody?
Something interesting we don't often point out, but Nippon Modus Ghost shaft in his Strixon driving iron in the Zubs, which is I don't know. I love that shaft. It doesn't get enough love.
It's I don't think a lot of people are too engaged with the state of the hybrid and utility iron shaft market.
Why not? They should be.
Even for me, that's kind of like, whoa. Okay, it's not sure about that.
One person is going to say thank you for mentioning that. I've been looking for a hybrid / driving iron shaft, and now I got a new one on my radar.
I do not have that in my hybrid, nor do I have that in my utility iron. So
I do. This guy does. All right. Anyway, let's move on.
Okay.
Can we talk some golf ball stuff? Because we did, like I said, we were in Arizona. We did our ball test. People are asking all sorts of questions, right? Hey, when are there going to be results? What are the results? Who won?
Nobody wins.
Somebody wins. But somebody has to. It's a test. Somebody has to win, right?
No, the purpose of the test is to quantify, to the extent possible, the relative performance of, what did we land on, 45 golf balls?
I just keep saying it's 50 because there's like 49 and I round up. So I'm just saying 50. That may not be 100% correct, but it's what I'm going with.
Well, assuming I have all the rows in my data, it's 45. But
I would trust you more than me, but I'm saying 50.
Okay, say whatever you want. Be wrong. Enjoy your life.
So, what is the point of that? You're just getting like when we say, hey, what's the best golf ball? People assume if there's a test, the results would indicate something's better than something else. But you're saying, pump the brakes on that.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's about establishing the performance attributes of various golf balls. And so when it comes to good and bad, I struggle with that. Now, there's some things that you can see observationally and sometimes come up in the dispersion charts. Like we've seen balls that kind of fly way offline occasionally, right? And almost every manufacturer, if not every manufacturer we've ever tested, is subject to the occasional, to use the Marty Jurtson phrase, the occasional cuckoo ball. So almost nobody is immune to cuckoo balls. So it's sort of like, is there a pattern of cuckoo balls, and does that pattern repeat over years? Yeah. So that's the kind of thing we look for, and certainly we see some of that. But in terms of good and bad, golf ball performance is just different. So, and kind of exists on a bell curve. Right? We'll use the Pro V1. I don't know necessarily if it's the absolute best example, but you do have these balls that are sort of designed to provide sensible, if you will, launch, spin, flight characteristics for golfers. And then like anything else, you have these tail of the bell curve kind of balls. I didn't have anything that really stood out as super wild this year, but kind of going back to the original ball test, I think was a great example of that, where we had a couple of Volvic balls. I want to say S4s, S3, S4, maybe both of them. And the pre-RB Tour Mizuno golf balls, especially the first generation there, they had pronounced what I would consider low flight, high spin characteristics. So by no measure is that a recipe for distance. For a lot of guys, they're going to hit it and say, oh, it's so short, this ball sucks, worst golf ball ever, and realize, well, it's not a great ball for everybody. It's not a great ball for a lot of people probably, but it's a golf ball that fits somebody. So it's not a bad golf ball per se. It's just way out on the tail, right? Not like this is not for everybody kind of thing. And so it's trying to figure out, all right, where does this plot out on our bell curve? And with the combination of, again, flight and spin, all right, who is this for to an extent? And you do kind of identify, hey, these are a bit more distance centric, but you're probably giving up something to get that distance. Or these spin a lot, but you're probably giving something up to get that spin. That being said, this is, I'm not going to say we had a ton, but this is the first time where we had a more measurable percentage of the test field dedicated to ionomer golf balls, aka the cheap shit. Although at $40 a dozen, for example, I don't know if Titleist Tour Soft qualifies as cheap shit, but these are the stuff that by and large runs from, in the case of the Pinnacle Rush, I think sub $20 for 15.
The old Crave case. Let's go.
So we do. Again, I mentioned we've got the Titleist Tour Soft up there, and the Callaway ERC Soft, which are, I'm going to say, we've talked about this before. These are balls that exist 3-piece, or at least in the case of the ERC Soft, 3-piece construction and ionomer ball. It's a price point, right? It's like, well, I'm not going to pay Chrome Tour prices,
right?
But I still want a name brand ball. What can you give me? And that's how you kind of end up at this price point. But we also have things like the velocity in the test. Srixon Q-Star Ultispeed was one we wanted to get in the test, right?
Super curious on that one.
I mentioned the Pinnacle, TaylorMade Speed Soft, and I talked about this last week, I think. How we got here is like, hey, what are the best-selling balls in this category? Let's test those. So, that's kind of what we went through, and I think we tested 7 or 8 of them, so they would be, by and large, the best-selling 8 of that construction on the market. And those, I would say, the difference there, we can later on, if the dispersion patterns kind of check out with what we think we saw, it certainly appeared that as you went from ionomer to urethane, you went from this to this. And for those of you just listening, I'm making a wide circle and then a small circle.
Smaller, more concentric.
That's the hand gesture right here. So that was, again, eyeball test, right? That's what we think we saw doing that. So those tend to be what I would describe as single purpose balls. So they serve one need and maybe don't do anything else well in the process. So a lot of these, like, why do they exist? Well, they exist for soft feel. Right. So if you look at,
sometimes it's
for example, Super Soft, right? One of the best-selling balls on the market. Who is this for? The initial launch angle is pretty high, but the actual peak flight is low, and it comes down really shallow and just wants to roll forever. And so you're like, if you're hitting that into a green, that's suboptimal. But again, that works for somebody, or it works for the guy who just wants soft feel. That is the priority. Yeah. And you see something like a Velocity, for example, which appears to give you pretty good distance off the tee. But again, good luck getting that to spin around the green. Whereas when you get into these urethane balls, you start to see, not only do they have distance, not only do they fly high, but you can actually stop them around the green. The short game performance is way better. When you get a little bit of moisture on them, they don't see massive, in most cases, massive to ridiculous spin drops. So it's, do you want a ball that does a lot of things, or do you want a ball that does one thing?
Yep.
And these are the kind of choices golfers make, whether they realize it or not.
Yeah, I think two things, and I'll follow that up with another question for you, but trying to understand how to use this information. And like we said, it really is a situation where every golf ball is designed to do something, right? Like, there's a performance spec that they're trying to hit, and we quantify that in terms of things like spin, trajectory, and put numbers and things behind it. So that really is what this test is to determine, right? Is what does this golf ball do compared to what it's supposed to do when it's hit at 115 miles an hour, 100 miles an hour, 85 miles an hour. Okay, now let's take it through the irons and wedges. How does the ball perform? And then secondly, how often does it do that, right? Like, how consistently does it do what it is designed to do? If we have a golf ball that's really long, so like, I think about a golf ball that we tested kind of towards the end, like, and again, I don't know that I need a ton of data to say this, but like Automax.
That's...
And the only reason I'm comfortable saying this is because we only had 6. We did kind of a one-off kind of test with it, but
just wanted to see, how does a $250 golf ball that claims to be the longest in golf perform?
And it might be the longest. I don't know. I mean, the ball speed numbers we saw would indicate that, but
it kind of depends which one you hit. I mean, that was...
Even if you gave these to me, I would not play them. I couldn't play them. One, they're non-conforming, but two, there was such a variety in long... Like, I mean, we had peak heights that were 30, 40 feet difference. I mean, something as low as like 79 or 80 feet peak height, all the way up to well over 100.
Yeah, again, we talk about this being more about performance and quality and trying to quantify that. But you look at that ball in particular, again, limited test, but you would think, right, with a small sample, you wouldn't see a ton of variation. But
right.
I mean, if you told me that we hit out of this, the 6 balls we hit of those 2 models at the highest speed that we tested, if you had told me that there were 3 different models in that, just, again, eyeball test, I would have believed you, because you see...
It would have made more sense.
Yeah, that is the one thing that is so hard to convey in really anything we do is to help golfers visualize the flight windows that we see standing behind that robot. And there's always a reference point, whether it's a big sandy hill or a cloud that happens to be there.
That hasn't moved yet.
Yeah, and you just see, like, wait a minute, how is it that one was so much lower than the one before it? It's absolutely ridiculous. And so you look at that and go, that ball's a piece of shit. There's no other. It's just a piece of shit.
Check it off the list. Check it off the list.
But by and large, I think with as much as we test, and there's always going to be exceptions.
Sure.
But on this list is probably going to be a ball that you either play almost every time you play, or you play a lot. At a minimum, a ball that you're familiar with, have some idea of what it does and what it doesn't do, and that gives you the point of comparison. So hey, it's like pick a ball, right? I like the Titleist AVX, but I wish it spun more around the green. And so you can start to find out, well, all right, what has similar flight and spin numbers, but maybe more greenside spin, knowing that there's inherently going to be a trade-off there. But it's again, trying to find the ball that ideally checks all the boxes, but probably checks many of them. And again, I'm going to keep promoting this wacky idea, right? The full Jertson of this new idea that maybe you don't need to stick to one model, right? Like, I've got this idea, like, all right, hey, what am I prioritizing on this hole? And so, hey, maybe that is, I need high flight and a lot of spin to land soft, or this is a long par 5, but if I can get everything out of a tee shot, maybe I get there in 2. Well, that's a fundamentally different equation than the par 3. And then there's the hey, I'm into the wind here. Let's keep that flight low. Let's get that spin down. What do we got? Again, this is to use AVX as a reference point, right? What do we have that maybe could do a little bit of what AVX does in that situation? And then I have this is just a golf hole. Nothing super exciting going on here.
Let's golfing hole. Yeah.
Let's just grab a regular, the stock, whatever you played ball, and go for it. So, there'll be a lot of data when we publish, and you can make it as complicated as you want when you start thinking about not only the best ball for everyday use, but maybe the best ball for every unique situation you're going to encounter from one hole to the next.
Yeah, I think, and we'll save some of this for when that data comes out, because I think that's something that's super helpful to people, is try to figure out, okay, how do you take this data then and use it? Because that's ultimately why we do the test, right? Like, we want people to use the information to help them make a better decision. So it's like, okay, how do I figure out if I just see this information for the first time, or I know there are people that will see it for the first time or haven't heard about us or whatever, and they go, oh, this is cool, but which ball should I play? And I can't tell you which ball you should play, but we could take some scenarios, right, and run people through that and kind of go, okay, based on what I know about you and your game, etc., here's some things you might want to consider as you go. If this ball doesn't work, then maybe that. Or like you said, hey, maybe you've been playing AVX because you thought that was a great ball for your da-da-da-da-da, but you started to notice X. Okay, if that's the case, here's some things you might want to consider. Here's what the data might suggest you kind of start to take a look at. And I think just eyeball test alone, and I'm not going off any data yet, I didn't see anything in the eyeball test that told me, hey, I should change the golf ball I play. But there was enough in the eyeball test that there's some stuff I'm really curious to get out on the course and just hit maybe a couple different shots with, and see if those differences are noticeable to me in the course of kind of like on-course testing and stuff. And I go, okay, I'm really intrigued to try this golf ball for 9 holes and just see kind of what it does or doesn't do.
For sure. And it's, again, looking at trying to understand where the strengths and weaknesses are, and where you start to see some weird stuff. Some stuff like we've talked about Chrome Tour Triple Diamond, for example. That was a ball where you and I thought, like, eyeball test, that one looks really good. While we may have done something to juice the test at one point, the PXG stuff looked really good too. It's just like, hey, we're not seeing a lot of variation, and again, because you're hitting these in small sequences, and so from one ball to the next, you're just looking, hey, was anything different in that flight that cannot be explained by a little bit of wind or something like that? And again, it's that, are we hitting the same flight window over and over again? Are we going roughly the same distance over and over again. So those are the kind of things you look for. And when you start to see some variation, that's where you go, it almost becomes exclusionary, right? Like, this looked pretty solid. I didn't see anything I didn't like, or that makes me a little uneasy.
Right. It's the absence of bad information is sometimes good information, where it's like, I didn't see anything terrible. I mean, and that's kind of where I'm glad you mentioned the triple diamond, the Cowboy, because like there's enough there. Like, I'm intrigued by that golf ball now. There's some things I'm like, okay, I want to see how this performs. And conversely, there's some other stuff that just eyeball test. I'm like, oh man, I'm sorry, but if it has soft in the name, I'm probably never going to even try it. And I'm not going to say 100% of the time in all situations or whatever, but if we're just starting to vote things off the island from a performance standpoint, sorry, if it has soft in the name, it's probably out for me. So whatever that's worth. There's going to be a lot more golf ball talking things to come, and especially when we release the data, and we'll go through it in depth. But if people have questions, post those, because we'll start to take a look at it. One question I had, Tony, is I've become recently more and more confused by a certain category of golf clubs. Like, I understand what certain categories are and aren't, and I think hopefully we do that, but the more I see it, the more I'm confused by super game improvement irons.
Yeah, I feel you, man.
And I'm not confused in terms of like what they're supposed to be. Like, I understand the concept of what they are, but
I understand what you're getting at. Like, because what they're supposed to do is right in the name. Right. These are super game improvements.
Right.
Irons, which I suppose means they offer a super amount of help for people who need game improvement, which is pretty much all of us, but some of us need more help than others.
Right.
And I do wonder, as categories evolve, if this isn't one where the industry has, at a minimum, it's become fractured.
Mm-hmm.
And there's an argument to be made that it's totally lost its way. And why I say that, right? What is a super game improvement iron? So we say, all right, it's supposed to be for golfers who need the most help. It's supposed to be super forgiving. That's
the most
generally
improvement-y thing, right?
That's generally how people think of these irons.
Mm-hmm.
And so with that, the design elements you get, they're big. That's the first thing. Almost invariably, I'd be hard pressed to find a small game improvement iron, super game improvement iron, excuse me. You'd be hard pressed to find a super game improvement iron that isn't the biggest that a given manufacturer offers.
Right.
So what do you get? You get this blade length, longer heel to toe.
Yep.
You get these really thick top lines.
Yep.
You get wide soles. You get generous amount of offset. Companies have gotten better about designing them so that they look pretty good. They used to be kind of goofy, big badges, ornate nonsense. You just look down and like, all right, why? So you have everything in the design that, at least in the footprint, is supposed to be about forgiveness, or is about forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
But then the next thing that is common, although to an extent decreasingly so you get these jack lofts.
Right. They
so you have like
stronger lofted. Yes.
Right, because, and this is where you kind of get the disconnect in the design. All right, we have extreme forgiveness in the head, but then we jack the lofts because, well, everybody needs more distance, and people who miss a lot maybe even need more distance still. So we're gonna use loft, and to an extent CG location. We talk about this all the time. Loft itself does not necessarily convey what you're going to get on the other end. And then when you look at stock shafts, they invariably, in every one of these, right? I'd be surprised if, looking at the test results that we just published, our super game improvement test, I'd be surprised if any of these, and I don't know this for an absolute fact, but I can comfortably say that the majority of these are going to have sub 100 gram shafts in them. And so you have these super forgiving irons, but kind of the total package suggests that manufacturers have decided that it's slower swing speed players who need the forgiveness.
Right.
And it's the same group that also struggles to get the benefit out of the jack lofts because, again, when you rely on CG, you need a certain amount of speed to get that ball in the air.
Right.
To sort of activate the loft, if you will.
Right.
So you're saying, hey, we have this design thing that's inherently forgiving, but we're also going to jack the lofts. And we're going to put in shafts that suggest we're designing things for slow swing speed players who don't have the speed to activate the dynamic loft. And by the way, when you don't have a ton of speed, you also don't need a ton of forgiveness. Because that's, again, speed is gasoline.
Right.
So when you don't have a ton of speed, you're going to lose distance, but it's not accentuated like if you're a faster swing speed player.
Right.
if a guy who swings his driver 115 misses on the toe, the penalty for that is going to be a lot more than for a guy who swings a driver 85 in terms of actual yards. On percentage, it's going to be pretty similar, but
right.
I don't look and go, hey, this hole's 425 yards and then start doing percentage math, right? Everything on the course is absolute distance.
Right.
So
right.
It's a fundamental disconnect, and I will say that there are some designs, and I give Mizuno credit for this with the hot metal high launch. Those they may not have been the first, but they were the first to kind of say, hey, we've entirely rethought this.
Yeah.
And it turns out that a guy who, if we're going to say this is for a slow swinger, and that's again kind of what super game improvement has become. Again, there's a disconnect between
definitely
the shape and the needs.
To. I mean,
and so again, there is some incongruity to it. But if we say, hey, this is largely marketed or designed for slower swing speed players, as again the shaft combination would certainly suggest who that's going for. That's the language they speak, right? It's golfers who either moderate swing speed golfers or aging golfers, however you want to categorize it. It's typically aimed at guys who either have never had speed or lost the speed they used to have.
Right.
And then the head designs are all about forgiveness, which is fundamentally a different thing.
Well, and that's part of what kind of got me started down this path was thinking about, and again, I think a lot of us do this, you associate clubs and categories with people that and bell curves being what they are and distribution being what it is, most golfers are average or close to average. Like, that's kind of how the math works. And we know, like, average handicaps of people that keep a handicap, but if you really just took golfers in general, most golfers are bad because it's hard. And when I say bad, I don't mean that like pejoratively, like, oh God, you're terrible at this. But it's like, part of me wonders if super game improvement has become too pigeonholed into almost like a slower swing speed only type thing, where are there other players, more players that could benefit from some of these designs, but they don't need a 55 gram senior flex graphite shaft. They need maybe something totally different. Maybe they're newer. Maybe they swing plenty fast or whatever. But like you said, we've kind of seen that change a little bit, I think, in the game improvement space. You mentioned Mizuno. I mean, we could throw the current T250 stuff that Titleist is doing by offering
the launch spec. Yeah.
The launch spec one. Ping offers several different kind of trajectory packages with retrospect and standard and stuff. Again, understanding that launch and trajectory aren't necessarily swing speed or player ability specific, that there's a wide
this is
range.
One, right, where the marketing can steer you in the wrong direction. And I understand you have to, as a golf club manufacturer, be able to express who a golf club is for, the type of golfer. And there's often not a lot of nuance that can be conveyed in that same marketing, but this is where it's important to assume nothing, especially if you're not intimately familiar with the designs, and where it makes sense to, I would say, go see a good fitter at a minimum, go demo the stuff before you buy it on eBay or whatever you do. It's because it is one of those things where it may not work as advertised for you for one reason or another, or it may give you something you don't need at the expense of something else. So, again, for if you're really speed challenged, okay, but is loft jacking the answer, or do you need something that's going to provide? Because often what we see with the speed challenge guys is the ball comes out too low, it doesn't spin enough, and so at that point it's like, hey, what if you traded away a little bit of distance for the ability to hold a green, or know how far the ball is going to carry? Because rolling on the green is great. It works for a lot of guys. They play that bump and run, right? Land it short, roll it up, and that's awesome right up until you've got a water carry or something in front of the green, and then maybe you're like, oh, so I can't land it short and run it up, and if I land it on the green, I'm going to run it right off the bat, right off the back. And so my feeling is that the irons that you have in your bag, the irons in particular, should never put you in a position where it's almost impossible to hit and hold a green because of the design. Yeah.
I think for me, this is the, categories of equipment evolve, and we've seen this, and it's really cool to kind of trace them as it happens. And now we've seen, the whole world of hybrids and driving irons over the last several decades. And now fairway wood seem to be a place where there's kind of a reimagination of, it's not just stock 15-degree 3-wood, 18-degree 5-wood, and away you go. We got mini drivers. We got basically 4-wood, 6-woods. Yet I was talking to somebody else who I thought this was a really cool idea. They basically kind of took a 5-wood head that they turned up a couple degrees, but then made it almost 7-wood length. So it was like a 6.5-wood kind of. And so it makes me wonder, like,
you see guys playing 5-woods with 3-wood shafts. It's like, whatever it takes, and you can go down a rabbit hole, and I'm all for that. Is the look how many golf balls I can play around a golf guy. But yeah, that's.
But I think this is a category of iron in that world, as we've kind of defined what these other areas are, that might use some reimagination to it and see, okay, is there a better way for us to go about that? I don't know. People, you have thoughts, you might have ideas. What's next? We got ball test stuff like that. Are we gonna have ball test results, you think, yet next week, Tony?
Next week might be a bit too soon. We're grinding. We're getting
a little optimistic. I'm sure we'll have something else to talk about.
Well, preliminary stuff, right? The stuff that is dependable, and that's the stuff that you could kind of get without having to worry about what the weather was up to. So ball speed, launch and spin, those type of things that are pretty consistent. Like we already have a good understanding of that, and then trying to get into a better idea of what the ball actually does downrange, like which ones really fly the highest, that kind of thing. And then we'll publish distance numbers. We'll give you a carry and a total distance number, and we do that because we know distance is something that every golfer cares about. But it's important to understand, well, that distance number is largely dependent on the relationship of speed, launch, and spin, and that's going to be largely golfer dependent, right? The golf ball that is the longest, even if you and I swing exactly the same speed, if the relationship of launch and spin between us is different, that's going to get us to a different total distance number. So that is largely golf dependent, but there is, starting with a fast golf ball is a good way to kind of get to a long golf ball. Mm-hmm. And then when it comes to total distance, like that's all algorithm. It doesn't matter. TrackMan, USGA, everybody, nobody follows it from the time it lands to the time it stops rolling.
Course dependent. So, there's so many things.
You're right. Yeah. So it's really, again, if you play soft conditions, that's going to be a different number. If you play firm conditions, it's going to be a different number. Altitude, right? All of these things come into play. But again, the core numbers, those are reliable.
Mm-hmm. So we'll start there. You'll have questions, you have thoughts, feedback, let us know. Until next time, we out.